Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Discover a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, hello, welcome to the best podcast, tied with our other podcasts and all of the podcasts Melissa makes. Oh my gosh, it's a brand new episode of Don't Blame Me. Hi.
Hi, that sounded like a Celine Dion impression, but not like in a good way.
Oh. Okay, that was traumatizing. That just reminded me of when the kid in high school asked me if I'd ever seen Harry Potter, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, you look like Hermione. And I said, thank you. And he goes, that was not a compliment. And I was like, okay.
Rude.
Yeah. And then he tried to ask me to prom later, and one of my friends was like, don't ask her. And he was like, why? Like, she's hot now. Like, I think it'd be fun to go with her. And she was like, she did not forget when you told her she looked like Hermione.
But also, it's a cute kid.
No, but he said Hermione from the books. And she's not described as being cute in the books. And my front teeth are quite large. And just know that they have gotten smaller as I've gotten old. They were way bigger when I was younger.
From gnawing on things.
I got them shaved down like a bunch of over the course of I think maybe once in middle school, but a good some in high school. I used to have, what do they call? I almost call them Malamars. That's like that cookie from Gilmore Girls. No, but I forget what it's called. But those when on baby teeth, those little kids have ridges. I had that on all my adult teeth. I still have a little bit because it's just how my teeth are. But they shaved down a lot more of.
That makes sense for your resemblance to Amy Schumer as a kid too, because that's how her teeth are.
Yeah. So that's
okay.
very
that
much
sense.
it.
Yeah.
Me and Amy Schumer, and also apparently me and Hermione from the books. So nice. The Amy Schumer one though is actually, if anybody has seen pictures of me as a baby, just know that me as a baby grew up to be Amy Schumer. It did not grow up to be me. That baby is Amy Schumer.
Yeah, her baby looks like you as a baby.
And it's funny because I don't think Amy Schumer and I don't look alike at all now. I definitely think we look like we could be in the same family, resemblance.
Mm-hmm.
But me as a baby, I was supposed to grow up and look exactly like Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
So funny. Well, welcome to the podcast, a brand new episode. We have been doing replays for the last couple episodes because, and I talk about this in this week's episode of But Am I Wrong? I moved, then I got sick. Melissa was out of town, and then she got sick. And so we just overlapped unwellness.
Mm-hmm.
We only took 2 weeks off of recording, but that in turn ends up being a little bit longer for episodes coming out.
It's still 2 weeks.
Oh, I guess I'm thinking of there's 2 podcasts, so it's 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're happy to be back. What's up with you? Oh, I guess, hi, I'm Megan. And
hi, I'm Melissa. What's up with me? I was in Arkansas for 2 weeks. We found out, I don't even remember which podcast we discussed scholars on. I don't know if it was this one or the other one, but you and I were talking about do scholars exist anymore?
Do philosophers exist?
Yes, philosopher. Of course, scholars. Sorry.
Everybody who's there with their little fucking ribbon sashes being excuse me,
sorry.
I have my little braids.
I am so sorry. I meant philosopher, not scholar. And that's what my mom's doctorate is. So we've known one all along.
Maybe it's about the friends we made along the way. Maybe that's the real journey here.
Yep.
I died when you texted me that. I was like, you're like, oh, so it turns out, like, I guess it's what my mom's doing. And I was like, that's so fucking funny that this is, we do know.
I knew what the concentration was in, but I didn't know that it's a doctorate of philosophy. So
I didn't even know you
there's
could
that.
study philosophy in college. And like, I thought it was just like, you can think like, you become a philosopher. Like,
Right.
okay, Aristotle. We get to make a marble statue of your mom.
She'd love it because the ass would be so big, and she would
I was
actually
gonna
hate
say,
it.
be a lot of material.
Yeah. I paid off my car, which I'm very excited about. That's about all that's new. What about you?
That's a great question. I'm still unpacking.
And you'll probably still be for months.
That's my point exactly, is that like it is an ordeal, and I've posted some vlogs on that, but it's a transition from going, our old apartment was like 2,000 square feet. This place, technically, I think it's like 1,200 or 1,300 square feet. It feels way bigger than that. I think also just because of like the layout and the lot is really big.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that it doesn't feel that much smaller, it is when it comes to unpacking where I'm like, oh, and there I've unpacked into everything I can unpack. So I guess I should now go through and additionally purge and get rid of things. So it's a lot of like figuring that shit out, but it's been really fun. It's so funny because it's another one of those life events that you're like, who let me do this? Like, we have no idea what we're doing. And it's like comical. Like, we are like trying to figure out how to take out these doors in the closet. And I'm getting all these messages from people who are like, yeah, just take a sledgehammer. That's what we did at my house. And I'm like, so we're all just like a bunch of toddlers playing house in these places that we own, just like throwing shit against the wall, trying to figure it out.
I mean, there's literally places that are called like, what are they, rage places or whatever, where you can go and use sledgehammers to destroy things. So you can do that in your home. Why not?
I'm drunk with power. Like, it's just crazy. But
I'm kind of scared of you with a sledgehammer, though.
Same.
Because you're very clumsy.
Oh, I would drop it. And I have impulse control issues. And so that's why I'm like, I am my own biggest enabler, where I'm like, you have to do this thing immediately right now or else you will never be happy. And this is like the thing that will solve all of your problems. You have to do it right now. It's like itching a mosquito bite. But then if I just shut the door and walk away, I forget about it and I don't have to do it. And I know if I did all of these things that I immediately want to do, like right then and there, that's how I dropped a giant glass tabletop and shattered it. Like, I just am not careful. So I'm learning.
Impatient.
And the same thing with like furnishing and like decorating. And so I've been really practicing like taking my time and researching a lot of stuff. So it's definitely like the slowest kind of move-in we've had, but it's really exciting. And like we have like a very large yard. And so we've been spending like our weekends raking the leaves and then like deciding how we're going to like change the ground here and then cleaning out like all of this like different random shit. Like, we just spend every week come inside after spending hours outside, like both of us like dirt under our fingernails and just like sweaty. And I was like, this is like so cool. Like, I'm having lots of stress, but we're both having fun with it. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's really cool. And our neighbors have been so helpful. Like, everyone sees us like out in our yard and like introduces themselves. Like, let us know if you need any help. Like, we've been here for like years. We have ladders. We have tools. We're really handy if you need help. Because I keep telling everyone, like, we're first time home buyers. We don't really know what we're doing. And all these like old people just keep offering to help, which is sweet. It's just, it's a very cool experience. And I can't wait for you to come see it. You should, if you have time this week,
maybe
or this weekend.
Yeah. I was thinking it already. But leaf raking, I just want to go back to this. I feel like during the springtime, because this is still technically spring, the leaves are out of control right now. Like, I feel like it's more so than last year. Like, every day I have to go out on my side deck and sweep off my furniture because the leaves are everywhere. The lawn guy was here yesterday at 6 o'clock in the morning mowing the grass.
Jail.
Oh, it was so annoying. But like, he cleaned up the whole yard today. I look out there, it looks like he didn't do anything.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, so like I'm just gonna let it be and then just clean off my furniture when I'm sitting there because it's just gonna make me stressed out every day.
Oh, yeah. Our issue is that like most of our land, like a large amount of our landscaping, like, we have a little bit of grass, but like unless you want to break the law, you can't really have like a green like lawn in Southern California. Like it's literally illegal to water every day. And so we have like in one section, it's like mostly wood chips. And they're like treated to like, you know, not be like literally like kindling for a fire, but they're still wood chips. And so then when dry, dead leaves fall on it, my native California ass just sees like our whole house is going to get set on fire. So I'm literally individually picking up these leaves because you can't rake the wood chips because the leaves, because they're the same size as the wood chips. And it's been like the bane of my existence. But I think we're going to exchange it for a clover lawn, and which is like really great for biodiversity and like that. Bees. Yeah. And it only grows to a certain height.
It on the TikTok.
Same. That's where I discovered it.
Just so
it's beautiful.
Cozy.
I've heard it's like soft and plush to walk on and like is like really just like gorgeous. And one of my best friends just graduated from an Ivy League with landscape architecture degree. And I want to be like, hi, hello. What is your friends and family discount for a quick little consultation about what we should do here?
Yeah, Melanie's yard is clovers. And I was like, oh, I love this.
Can you have her send pictures? I would love to see like up close, because I've seen like on TikTok and stuff, but like I think it would look really nice. And so it's just been like fun to like be on Pinterest and just like look at all of these different things. And I'm just really, obviously our house is old and there's like shit that happens that we have to like figure out and like save for and whatever. But I'm excited. I don't have like any buyer's regret, which thank God, it's the most expensive thing we've ever bought. But like, it's like, every day that we're here, I'm so happy we didn't get a different house. And I'm so happy we got this house, because like, there's nothing that we have to change to like make it immediately livable. And it's like, everything is doable right now. And like, we just get to like dream up these projects that we want to do and then time when we want to do them. And it's not like some of these other places we looked at were like really busy streets with like no parking and like the one that had like 75 or like 150 stairs to get up there. And I was just like, okay, this is nice. I'm glad this is what we got. So I'm sending, good really house buying vibes to anybody who's trying to buy a home right now. Apparently it might get a little easier.
Yeah, I've been seeing that.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm sure it'll somehow get fucked up all over again.
That's just the cyclical nature of the economy, unfortunately.
I think what they're saying that is making it get better is that interest rates have skyrocketed. And so therefore there's just like, it's less competition, but therefore it's not easier to buy a house unless your only issue was the competition. You know what I mean? But like, there's so many different factors.
Eventually it's going to get to the point where everybody feels like they need to sell their house because they think it's a buyer's market. And then a seller's market, and then it'll get too saturated. Then it's going to crash again. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, it's brutal, but excited for you to see it. Yay.
Me too.
Well, that's what's new with us. So this is Don't Blame Me. If you're new here, we are an advice podcast where we give amazing, wonderful, life-changing advice. And you might be wondering, what do these two supermodels, scientists, and Nobel Prize winning women?
No. Hold on. I was going to fuck up something, so I'm just going to let you keep going with the flow.
Are you being Meghan today? Because that's
Yep.
What are you looking? I need everyone watch on the video version, because Melissa's just talking to her, mouthing words to herself, figuring out what she's trying to say. That's me. Like you're being me. The short circuiting.
I gotta figure out how to pronounce this word.
A Nobel laureate.
Laureate. Thank you.
Is that one word?
Laureate.
And then Nobel or Nobel.
Well, I was just saying laureate. See.
Lawyers. Laureate.
It is two words, but I was just saying it as a separate thought.
That is actually what I was thinking of. I was like, we're the Nobel women, but it is Nobel laureate. Nobel laureate.
I thought you were going with Nobel Peace Prize winners, and so
are those not the same thing?
I don't think so.
Who's Nobel? Who's Nobel?
I don't know.
Does this person have like a peace prize and the writing one?
I don't know. Hold on. Nobel Peace Prize. That's one thing.
I think that's the only thing there is.
Okay, then what were you talking about, laureate?
You said I thought you were referencing the Nobel Peace Prize. And I was. That's why the laureate fits. I don't think there's another Nobel.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Oh, you
sorry.
meant like noble, like knighted, like royalty woman.
Yes.
Everybody's screaming in their cars,
Noble
being like, "You dumb bitches!"
Nobel.
Nobel.
Two different things, spelled the same way. You can be a laureate, and you can also have a Nobel Peace Prize. We had two separate thoughts, but
wait, no, now I'm confused. I thought Nobel laureates are winners of the Nobel Peace Prize.
But you can also just be like somebody that's noble that has won a prize. Like,
and then would that also make you a
correct.
Nobel laureate? A person or organization awarded with a Nobel Prize is called a Nobel Prize laureate. Laureate refers to being signified by a laurel wreath. So if I just put a laurel wreath on my head, I might not be a Nobel laureate, but I am a laureate.
And that's probably why when you win a film festival, it has a little wreath thing, and it's a laureate.
My brain almost went to, and is that why you get lays put on you at graduation? But no, that's not on your head.
No. Mm-mm.
Huh.
But didn't scholars used to wear the little things in their head?
I think so.
Yes.
Wow.
Like Socrates.
Philosophers.
We sound really dumb. We sound really dumb, but like we were talking about two separate things but came to the same conclusion.
Yes. And also ask me if anyone wants to say that this was a dumb conversation, ask me about other shit. Ask Melissa about General Hospital. Ask me about anything, like all of these. We will own you. Like I know things.
I got in an argument with the other day about somebody talking about something about General Hospital. And I came with a whole essay plus clips to back up my essay. Like they were going back and forth. And then I was like, let me just school them real quick. And so then I had my direct quotes as well as clips that I found even from like 40 years ago. And then they're like, oh, thank you. And I said, you're welcome.
I would like to know how many awards and like karma your Reddit account has received. Because like this is on Reddit, right?
I can tell you.
That's what I want to know.
With General Hospital, I had a friend that was auditioning for a part on General Hospital, and they had a scene that had the names changed. And I was like, I know exactly what this scene is. I found it in 2 minutes and gave it to them so that they knew what exactly was being talked about.
Maybe you should be an acting coach for people trying to get on soaps. Like you could be like they call like scripties. You would be like not even the scripty. You would be like the Bible. Like you would be the the General Hospital Bible. And you're like, I'm here for hire. Does General Hospital? Do you want to hire me or like actors who are trying to get on it? Like,
and I would love that because the new writers they have on, or they've been the head writers for a couple of years, but they keep fucking up history. And I'm like, the information's there. How are y'all fucking this up? But I digress.
I love it. I still would like to say my favorite General Hospital moment with us personally together was every time I see a TV screen on a doctor's office, I will be like, oh, this is soap opera. And I sent a picture to you. And I sent like 4 different, like, I think it happened like 3 or 4 different times. And I was like, is this General Hospital? And then you finally responded and you're like, if they're in a hospital or they're wearing scrubs, it's highly likely that that's probably General Hospital. And I was like, oh, fair point.
No, that's not what happened. No, it's not though, because there's a hospital in all the other shows. But what happened was you sent me a clip from a guy and you're like, I don't think this is General Hospital because he's not in a hospital. And I said, yes, that's actually General Hospital. It was Peter August. He was in a cave, but yeah.
That you're right. That was it. Where I was like, this is a soap on. I don't think it's your one though, because he's not. They're not in a hospital. And there was another one where I was like, this one's not your soap either because they're in jail. And you were like, no, that is also General. It's just the med. And I was like, okay, I've yet to see anyone wearing scrubs, so I feel like I've been led astray by this show.
No, it's truly at this point, General Hospital is a lot of. In the 90s, it kind of changed it to a lot of mob storylines, and so people started calling General Mob Spittle. But like they're in the hospital a lot. It's just like they're not in it as much as they would have been back in like the 80s, 70s, 60s.
The 90s loved a good mobster.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Wow. I'm never not enthusiastically in awe and shocked by the storylines on these soap operas that you will then post on your Instagram stories. Like, it's just, I get why you love it. And it also, I understand the pipeline from watches soap operas to messy TikTok pipeline. It's a straight line.
I like everybody. Yeah. Most of the stuff I was posting on Instagram was from Days of Our Lives, though, because that one was more supernatural.
Yeah, that was like the most
devil.
chaotic thing I've ever seen. Like it
actually got really worse, but it wasn't as funny because it was in an old lady when I was posting, and then it got like down to her grandkids. They're in their 20s, so it wasn't as funny as seeing an old lady throwing a man across the table, because like that shit's funny.
It was good. I was intrigued. Well, there's your weekly
soap scoop.
But yeah, we're an advice podcast. We took so many fucking segues. We give advice because we fucking want to and we can, okay? And that's the reason. So if you want to
you guys wanted to, or why else would you be here? To get sudsy with us?
You want to get sudsy? So if you want to call in for an upcoming episode, you can leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. International listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. Keep it under 3 minutes. We ask that you write it down and time it out ahead of time. Just pull out the timer app on your phone. Make sure it's under 3 minutes. You have all the relevant and important information like ages, about relationships, how long you've been dating. And if you want to let us know your pronouns, please do. But we do recommend writing it down and reading if that's possible for you, just because we can give you the best advice if it's the best call with the most relevant information. And everybody thinks that they can just talk off the top of their head, and then everyone calls back and they're like, I fucked up. I'm so sorry. Please ignore that call. I'm reading this one now, and this one will be better. We promise it'll be a lot. If it's in your capabilities, I think you will be less stressed recording too. We keep it all anonymous. Have to be 18 or over. Have your parents' permission. Have to be 18.
Into your roots.
Australian?
No, was that Australian?
No, but you're sounding
Irish.
Australian. Oh,
you're sounding.
I eat the potatoes. That's all I can say. Don't tell my dead grandparents that I was making fun of Americans celebrating St. Patrick's Day.
Is it making fun of, or is it protecting your culture?
I am protecting my culture from the Chads, okay? That's what I'm doing. Anyways, we're going to give some wonderful advice. And I say that because
you didn't sound convinced that it was going to be wonderful.
It's going to be wonderful.
Give some wonderful advice, I guess.
We will, unless we choose chaos.
Hi, Megan. I'm 23, and I could really use your advice on a few things going on in my life right now. So I'm recently single. My girlfriend and I of almost 3 years. Today would have been our 3-year anniversary. Just broke up about a week ago. She broke up with me since in a few months we would have had to go long distance, and we've been dating since she was 19 and I was 20, and we were each other's first kiss, first like sexual partner, first everything. And for the past 3 years, it really was, to me, it felt like a perfect relationship, and I thought she was the person I would spend the rest of my life with. But since we would have to go long distance for graduate school soon, she is graduating college soon, and both of us are headed on to graduate programs. She felt that since we got together so early in life, she felt like she needed to become more independent, and combined with a few other factors, she decided to break it off.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Which really sucks because I really, really do love her. So I guess I just need advice on how to move on from a long-term, really serious relationship. And since I'm going to graduate school in the fall, I'll be moving to a completely new city. Don't know anyone in the city. So I need some advice on trying to find new friends in a new city. I'm a really anxious sort of person. And since I didn't know until recently we were going to break up going to graduate school, it feels really scary to be moving to a different place when one of the people you thought you had in your life is no longer there. So thanks for any advice you have. Have a good day.
I guess, should I just speak because you weren't addressed in this call?
Yep. I didn't know. Maybe when she said hi and then it was the pause, maybe it cut out there. But,
But then
I'll
was
let you go first.
Singular. Then it was like you.
Mhm.
And there's two. First impressions mean everything, everyone. Just
Right.
like we're listening to these. So that being said, this sucks. Like this very much sucks. I think that you seem still very much in love with your girlfriend. And I think that it's only been a week. So there are the natural stages of going through a breakup. And I, as an outsider, the one you kind of jump to usually is anger or fuck them kind of or whatever. And I don't think you're there yet, but I think that you're going to kind of get there. And I think you can still really have all of this fondness and love to her, but arbitrarily finding out that your partner is just not wanting to do long distance when that has not been communicated at all. And it was either you were under the impression or it was communicated before that you were going to be long distance. I do think it's kind of an asshole sort of move. I don't think that it makes her a bad person for breaking up with you and kind of launching all of this change kind of at once. But I do think the lack of communication, I think it's very normal to feel like you're kind of floundering because it's a lot of change all at once, basically. And I don't think, though, that her reasoning for this is, I don't want to say unique, but it's so not about you. And just because you felt oh, this was perfect, they're the one, I think that's probably how you feel right now. But I don't think that anybody who's dated someone since they were a teenager gets into their late 20s and not once ever has a thought or a feeling of I don't really know myself out of this relationship. I think she might have just had those feelings before you, but I don't think that those feelings, you would have never had those feelings either. I just think it's kind of par for the course for getting with someone when you're so young and then going through all this change in your life. And I think that if it was perfect and this was the one and all of that, then this wouldn't have happened. I don't believe that the perfect person and the one, I believe that it works out. I don't necessarily believe that there is one person for everyone, but I think if it's going to work out, it will. And I don't think that there's, if you're a good partner and there's it's not abusive and you care about each other, anything else about the outcome of your relationship is out of your control. It's kind of just life. And so I hope that you don't think that there's things that you could have done and changed. And I always hate when people are like, well, it could have been worse, but to put a little bit in perspective, not saying that one is worse than the other. But I had a friend who went away to school and her partner for like, I think they were together for somewhat of a similar age range, but I think they were together from like 16, 17 maybe until they were like 18, 19, so like 18. And he waited to break up with her until when like basically the day that she moved to college, and like she was there and they were doing long distance and they maybe did it for like a couple days, and he broke up with her long distance while she was there. And he always thought that it wasn't really going to work out. There wasn't communication. She wasn't under that impression. And he thought that doing it while she was experiencing this new change would like make her feel like, oh, I'll just do this here. Like she's got this other, like this change, this like good stuff kind of going on. And so like it'll be a distraction. And she was having a horrible time. Like she was really not adjusting well to the change. She like really was having regrets about the move. She was really not enjoying it. And then she didn't have the opportunity to process those two things like separately. And I think when you go into a new city, and we preach over and over and over again here that we're like, long distance should have an end date. We don't think you should, and not that you're moving there for her, like this was going to be long distance. But I think that is something like independence is like the good word of like it's the same thing as kind of being alone, or like it's the empowerment of being like alone. And I think that you have the ability now to go into a new city without anything, not that she would hold you back, but you get to meet people and find out if they're going to be friends or someone you might have a crush on. And you're not going to like maybe second guess if you're going to like spend more time with this person because you don't want it to be disrespectful to your relationship. Like I think going into a new city, it's about your perspective of it can equally be both really scary, but also really invigorating to feel kind of untethered. And that puts a lot of responsibility and like onus on you of like how the choices you're going to make with your life. And I think that it's a scary, stressful, anxious, anxiety-inducing time. But I think that you will probably pleasantly surprise yourself with like who you are outside of this relationship as like a person, because you don't really know. And I think it's a really cool, empowering thing when you see people who've gotten out of long-term relationships step out into their own, because you might feel really insecure about it. But every time I've witnessed a friend do that, I'm like, wow, this is like, I like love this person who you have like really become. Like you've learned so much about yourself, even within a relationship, but it's hard.
Yeah, I think this is a time for, if you shift your focus or your perspective on it, this is your time to grow and learn who you are, not who you are as a couple. There's a lot of life-changing things that are going on here. You've graduated from college, you're going to grad school, you're going to a new city, and you're single for the first time in a long time. And there's a lot of it, not just like with her breaking up with you, but there's just a lot of shock here. Like there's a lot of things that are on you that from your like perspective, that was kind of like the relationship was something that was a constant in your life, and now you don't have that. And so I think like looking at this from perspective of like, I'm that new bitch, like that person, like when you move into a new, like when you see it in like high school shows, when somebody moves in from a new high school and everybody's like, who's that? And there's like this mystery and intrigue. Treat your life like that. Like you're like the new hot shit that's coming into a new place. You're going to a new school. You're going to be around new people. Immerse yourself in the city. Immerse yourself in your building new friends, whatever like the culture is around your school, and who you are just like as an individual. And I think this is like a good time for you. Don't think of it as being dumped. Like this is like, I'm in my shining like main character moment in my life.
Well, it's something you said just sparked something in me where it was like, you, caller, your girlfriend was your security blanket. And now you need to be your own security blanket. Mm-hmm. Like you are your security blanket. Like this is about you. You are the constant in this. And like, yeah, this is your main character era hello, new city, like I'm here to fuck shit up. And I think that like, I never want it to sound like I have like ill thoughts or I think negatively of people who are in long-term relationships when I meet them. But I just know the experience. I didn't have a great college experience. Yes, we know that. But like the relationship that I had with my friends and like classmates, sorority sisters who were in long distance relationships was vastly different than the ones that weren't, that we were really kind of going through things at the same time and era. And at this time in your life, this is such a, I hate the term grind, but like high school's a grind, college is a grind, like all of these things where you're like working in it, where you look for your comrades in that. And I think it tends to be easier for people who are single to have proximity friendships, because it's like, oh, we're all going out after, like, we study for this thing. Like, here, do you want to come? Do you want to come? And as soon as you say yes to one thing, then that becomes like okay, you met some people, then you might meet somebody else. Like, I think the first steps to making new friends and like finding your way in a city. I mean, I think like I used to like this was when I was like a infant, like not an infant because I could walk, but like when I was a little kid, I used to like go to the playground and I used to point out kids that I like wanted to play with. And I would point to my dad and I would point them out to my dad, and my dad would walk over and be like, hi, this is Megan. She would like to play with you. And then it would be like, then I was great. And I even took that into like high school and college, where I would like see someone who like I really liked their outfit, or they just like seemed kind of cool. Maybe I overheard them talking about something, or they just seemed to be my vibe. And I would sit near them and be like, hey, like I have an extra piece of gum. Do you want one? Just those things that like break the ice to have a conversation with someone. And it might flop. Like they might not be cool. They might not be someone that you like. But I think the first time that you can kind of break that wall of like a social interaction with someone, that person might not be your next best friend, but they might invite you to something where you meet someone else, and like saying yes to things, obviously within your boundaries and your comfort levels. But you will be surprised how close and how quickly other people are keen to make friends when they are also going through these massive life transitions. And I think that like it's really hard to make friends as an adult when you're moving to a new city for a new job. But when you're all in like a graduate program together, I think that really breeds a bonding experience. And if we've learned from this podcast, if you are not in a heterosexual relationship, people use Tinder to make friends. And Melissa and I, the straights were at it again, thinking it was sus and fucking weird. And turns out it's not. So that also, I doubt us two straight girls have to tell you that, but that is also apparently, I feel like I'm a 90-year-old woman. Like, I guess that's a newfangled thing that the kids are doing.
But even like a month ago, I went to an outdoor dinner thing that my friend was having, and I chose to sit at a different end of the table than my friend because I was like, if I sit next to her, that would be a crutch. And I haven't been out anywhere in the last 2 years. And I was like, I need to work on my social skills. So I sat at a different end of the table, talked to a few people, and I was like, these people, like it was great. I actually got feedback too, because they're like, oh, Melissa's great. Like they told my friend, they're like, Melissa's great. We really liked her, you know? And so it felt good getting out my comfort zone. I also felt like kind of good being on. And also I learned, because I sat next to this other person, that we had another person in common that had nothing to do with the group that we were in. But like when you sit down and just start talking to people, you discover new things, and it was fun.
Yeah. I also think if you're going to a city where you know someone who like grew up there or who like lived there or anything, that like being set up on friend dates is great. Or if someone's just like, hey, like I will never, ever forget Candace, who like met Candace one day, just saw me and saw a very lost, very scared, newly 20-something who moved to Los Angeles and was like, hey, I like want you to meet some of my friends. And I was like, okay, literally picked me up from my fucking apartment, met the girl like literally like 3 days before, and drove me and introduced me to like a group of like women who like I've known for so long in LA. And then she got back on a flight and went back to work. And like that is something too that like a lot of people love doing, setting friends up and like setting people up. And if it's someone that you like have gotten along with, or they know your vibe well, you're most likely going to get along with those other people. And I think that setting friends up on friend dates is like one of the best ways that you can even just start to like get to know the city you're in. To then like you go to a restaurant and you're like, oh, this is not my vibe. The people who hang out here is not my vibe either. Like, let me see this like coffee shop down the road. It's just kind of about like exploring things and getting to like a lay of the land. And if you said you're an anxious person, it's something for me, like I like to have as much knowledge before going into a situation. And sometimes I can't do that with people. And so I do that with like locations. Like I will spend time, like I'm not going to go to like moving into like college or moving in anywhere. Like I'm going to spend time like a week there beforehand just to like get the lay of the land and like see where my grocery store will be, see where these things will be, how long it'll take me to drive there, and feel confident in my environment and kind of like understanding where things are and where I fit into it. So then the social aspect is more of a variable, but at least I've controlled and feel confident in something that I can plan and for ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's like Facebook groups or things about your graduate program with other people who are in it. And I think that it's hard to look at a breakup as like a good thing. But I agree with Melissa said, like, I think this.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural then and now.
Is like going to be like one of the best things for you. And without a doubt, the timing could have been better. But I think that you have to like honor how you feel about the breakup. But then I think you'll recognize in like a couple months that this was like a really, you wouldn't have wanted to go into this new city and this new life experience in a relationship.
Yeah, I personally think the timing is great, but I'm from the outside looking in. I'm not in it, where I feel like if I was in it, of course I wouldn't. But from the outside looking in, like you're getting a completely new start for everything.
Yeah. I think the issue in any long distance relationship, like if you haven't spoken about what you're going to do with a looming long distance thing, like that's a problem. Like you should always know if you're inevitably, even before you apply to colleges and stuff, like, or wherever you're going, like, are we going to plan to do that? Like it should always be a conversation, but it's also hard to expect. I definitely was not that communicative when I was in high school or like young, that age.
No, not at all.
Sometimes it is what it is. I think it can hurt and still be like a total heartbreak and a loss. I think this is going to be like really good for you long term. Mm-hmm. So I hope that wasn't too toxic positivity, because that is not our vibe. And wishing you the best. And if you're a part of our Facebook group, post if you feel comfortable about like, hey, I'm moving to a new city, starting a graduate program. Like there are so many people who like have met up and like hung out in real life, like have become real like in-person friends, people who like have reconnected with like old like elementary school friends through the group. But like we even had some members who like went overseas and were hanging out with like other people. So like that's a really great community.
They have a text chain that we're not a part of.
Yeah, we're not on it. It's fine. Everyone's going to be
just
like,
joking.
for the 100th fucking time, you don't want to be on it.
We know that y'all don't want to be on it because we don't read our text messages. No, even here in when we had a little break between podcasts, we both like were sitting there like, guess one's gonna text the other, and then I looked at my text message and Megan had texted me like 10 minutes before, and then I texted her and she's like, oh, I don't know how I missed this.
And we both were just sitting in these exact same positions, just like my camera and my mic was off. I was just sitting here playing Sims. Yeah, so texting is not our forte.
No.
Yeah. Wishing you the best.
Next call.
Hey, Meghan and Melisa. I'm 19 and my pronouns are he, him. I was needing some life advice. I was going to ask for some advice on how to get started with acting. I always told myself it was something I wanted to do, but like felt like it was going to happen to be like this weird coincidence. But as of recently, I felt like I was like wasting time. So like I want to take the initiative to get started with it. So like I spent some time doing my best trying to research on how to get started, but like I feel like I'm falling short to finding like something concrete. It's all very new, of course. Like I don't have an agent right now, and like I still have no idea on how to get one. Also, seems hard to like find open call auditions that like don't require an agent. Of course, like I'm not expecting to, like get a big role with the snap of my fingers right now. It's like I have to do like a million commercials and like a bunch of background stuff for a bit. Totally prepared for that. Like I just don't know how to get to that part right now. It just feels like this big secret that people don't really share the instructions for, or like I could just be looking in all the wrong places, and I just like feel so stuck in the mud about it. And I know I have to be doing something creative with my life. Like I want to be the person that entertains people like how others did for me. Whether like I manage to do something like with YouTube or give a chance with acting in the future, like I need to do it. Like I don't want to keep getting from one minimum wage job to the next, acting like I'm fine. Like I tried 1 year of college, sucked. Definitely dropping out after this semester, like not for me. And I know there's not a bunch of jobs that are willing to pay a bunch without a degree. And yes, I know like to be an actor, you obviously don't have to drop out. And like, I know it's not like, boom, you're an actor now, here's $1 million. But I'd rather be happy doing something that I find fun and intriguing, being inconsistent pay, than doing something that's like boring and dull with consistent pay. And I know for a fact that this is something like I need to do. And like, if I'm going to learn to become a good actor, like I need to manage to actually enter the world itself. And I know that like I'm probably like one of like a billion people that's like, yeah, I can do it. I can definitely do it. You're writing this feels kind of weird, but like I can't just sit and expect something to magically happen. Like I need to take the initiative. Whew. Yeah, that was probably a lot. But like for some condensed questions, where do I start? How do I attempt to get an agent? In the meantime, how do I find open calls without an agent? And literally any other advice you may have. Also, I'm on the East Coast of the U.S., by the way, and about 3.5 hours away from New York, if that helps with anything. And if you have any resources or anything like that, and I could DM you, that'd be great. Anyway, thanks for listening. And like, if there's anything else that like you need, let me know. Bye.
I think first we start at location.
I was going to say, if there is a big secret that no one's letting you in on, everyone would be working way more than they are. As an overall, like, you're not missing anything. Like, this is like how it is. Like, I understand. Like, I mean, I think it's also like a lot of the things that we've been fed about like someone being discovered, most of those are not real. Like they are made up for PR stunts.
And a lot of things with them that haven't been discovered, they come from a family that is already in the business before.
Yeah. There's only like a couple of like, and you can like find compilation videos of like, there's a couple of stars who like, and most of the time it's people who sing, like it's models and singers who have like these like crazy stories, but like the Disney Channel story of like, oh, I was just like walking through a mall and stuff. It's like, no, that's not what happens. Like what happens is like you grow up in Southern California and like your mom or your dad is friends with people who like work in entertainment, and like you're at a holiday party as a kid and like you're just super personable and you're such a ham, and like the parent's friend does commercial casting and thinks you'd be great because you're outgoing. Like that's how that stuff works when it becomes to like randomly getting discovered. But other than that, like there's not like a trick or a hack or a way to do it.
You do need to put in work though. And also if you're coming into this industry looking for like a consistent job with a consistent paycheck, this isn't it, especially when you're first trying to break in. You're also not going to get an agent unless you've done work before. You can't just get an agent to get a job. Those are for bigger jobs. Also, commercials, you still have to have an agent to get a commercial. Those are also very competitive. So like thinking that like you got to put in work for commercials first, that's not how that works either.
No, but it is kind of like you need an agent to get a job, but you need a job to get an agent. Like it is a backwards system, but also, you said that you're like, I'm cool with like not having like a consistent work. I just want something that's like fulfilling and like makes me happy and that's really fun. And I understand acting is so fulfilling. It is like makes me so happy. It is so fun. But I don't think you know what not consistent means, because like now imagine you don't make a single money from acting for like 3 years. Like what are you gonna like? That is just kind of par for the course. Like it is so fun when you're working, and it's like the highest highs and the lowest lows. Like you don't have things sustain you. And it's so different in the pandemic that like I used to like talk about this with my other friends who are also actors, where I'm like, you have different things that sustain you. So like a tape doesn't do much for you, but like sustains you for a bit, like in like an emotional, mental way of being like, oh, I really love this. I was reminded how much I love this. This is the cycle. And then you do enough tapes that you're like, this isn't doing it for me anymore. Like, this is just like, I'm really feeling defeated and I'm not enjoying this. And then you get an in-person audition. You're like, oh, the rush, this is so fun. I love like performing and like really working with someone. Like, this is great. And then you do those over and over again and they lose their luster. And then you get the callback and then that sustains you. And then you get the director session and that sustains you. And you have all of these things that then carry you over to the cycle that starts all over again with the next tape and with the next. And like, that's what it is. But in the pandemic, it's not that anymore. Like, it's just tapes. And it's like submitting things into the world that aren't being seen by anyone. You don't know, you don't get live feedback. And it's even harder, unlike singing where you can like write your own music and like produce your own stuff. Acting is a much harder thing to do that for. And so the whole like culture,
but you can do it.
You can, but in different capacities, as opposed to like the way that I would suggest if you're trying, like write something, like the best thing, like write something and send it to people, ask if you can show them these things, like find email addresses of places, like find competitions that are doing like writing things and like write something and like submit them to like local things. And like being 3 hours, this is like I feel bad. It's like such a harsh dose of reality, but like being 3 hours away from New York is too far.
It's way too far. You have to be there. You
have to be in New York, or you need to be in another city that has like a local agency. But local agencies, you're better off walking into like calling a local agency and asking like, hey, are you looking for new representation of like actors? You need to have like a reel. You need to have some stuff that you've done. And the biggest thing, though, is that, like, yes, there are things for you to do. And yes, you should take initiative. But initiative is not a full-time job. And, like, it's not going to pay the bills. And unlike music and singing, where you can, like, start and finish and produce and edit and do everything all yourself with, like, a fuck ton of knowledge and training. And not, like, every musician or singer can do that. But with acting, like, there's not really necessarily a medium for a bunch of like one-man shows that are self-written, produced, and like distributed. Like, it's just, you don't blow up on TikTok from acting. Like, that's just not a natural progression. And so like, I understand the like hunger and like want for that. And that is something that every actor who's working and every actor who's not working that I know, who's been in the industry, like, we all have that. But that initiative doesn't pay the bills, and it's not a full-time job. Like, you need to do stuff that pays your rent, and you also can do things that, like, you can apply for a job as an assistant at an agency. You can apply for like anything that's even remotely close to that world.
But even at the agency, they're going to want you to have a college degree if you're going to go that route.
Yeah. And I think that like college can suck. And I think if I was going to go back in time, if I had and this is not like advice I'm giving you because I wouldn't have been able to take my own advice. Like, I didn't want to go to a conservatory like program at all. But I think if I went back now and I had the money to go to like a conservatory program, I would have done that because I fucking hated the academics of school and that didn't work for me. And so like, I wasn't fulfilled with my major, which was acting, because I just was taking all the same classes over and over and over again because I hated everything else. And so if you can go to school for that, you can do like, you can go to like AMDA, you can do something that's like a more intensive kind of acting program. But like, if you're trying to make connections in the industry and do all of that, like doing like theater productions at a college is like a great way to do that, especially if you're going to a school in a major city. It doesn't have to be like NYU. Like, you can go to a community college in a city that has an entertainment industry and do productions there. Or if school is really not something you want to do, then
you have to move.
well, you have to move and you have to have money, and you have to like be spending then thousands of dollars on acting classes. And then you're spending money on intensives in private. So then the teacher really likes you and the teacher will introduce you to people who can get you an agent. Like there's a reason why nepotism babies happen in Hollywood so much, is because like you either need to have a whole other fucking job and career and do this on the side and pursue this passion on the side as you build up connections and you build up your resume and all of that, or you buy your way into doors. And like, he's not giving money to casting directors, but like you spend a fuck ton of money on the top acting like coaches. And you take their classes, and through there you meet other people who are in similar similar people who come from like affluent backgrounds who also have connections. And then you spend a lot more money to have that teacher really like you. And then they put you in showcases, and then they introduce you to agents. But then you might get an agent and you might not work. Like you might not get auditions, and you might get auditions and you might not book them. And I think that like acting sounds like, I'm not saying that you don't have this at all. You have that mentality that I think like everyone who wants to be an actor has. And if you have any doubts at all, and this is something that you have anything else you would like to do or anything else that would really fulfill you, do that. Because like you have to be a little off your rocker to like want to continue doing this. Like it's like constant rejection, like constant feeling bad about like all of these things that like it sounds so dramatic to be like, I do kind of think it's a curse, like that, like when you want to do this kind of thing, like, because like you're putting your mind, your body, who you are as a person, like everything is up to other people's input and like thought process and like what they think about you. And it's a really personal industry. And if there's something else that will make you happy, then I don't think this will make you happy unless it goes perfectly. You know, like there's so much more hurt than happiness in this industry, and it's taking the good with the bad. But if there's something else that makes you happy, the good's not going to be that good. Like it's just not. And yeah.
The entertainment industry as a whole, it's a lot of rejection, and you have to be prepared for that. There's a lot of spending money, so you're going to have either come from money or be prepared to work a lot of hours. And then on top of those hours, I remember when I first moved here, someone told me if you're working a 30-hour job, then you need to be putting 30 hours into your craft too. And I was like, what the fuck? But like, it makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that like most practical advice is don't move to LA and don't move to New York. It would be move to like Nashville, North Carolina, like
Atlanta.
Like Chicago, like move to a smaller city, or even like Jersey. Like there's lots of different like smaller industries and cities doing this, because I think the way to know if you want to be in this industry is to get an opportunity to work in some form of the industry, whether that's reading with being a reader at a casting office, or being a temp or like a floater, like an assistant at like a small agency, or working under like a management company. But you can't do that in LA or New York. Like those jobs are coveted, and they go for college grads.
Yep.
And then you also,
and it's usually you have to know somebody that knows somebody that works there.
And you have to basically like go into debt being an assistant. And there's the vast majority of assistants at the big agencies come from money, because you're getting paid minimum wage and you're working way more hours than you're like legally allowed to. And then you're also, it's the old school thing of like, you're not getting promoted for 10 years because that's just how things are done. And so like if college is not in your future, which is fine. I think that like you don't have to I didn't go to college, but
you also have YouTube too.
Well, that's the only reason why I dropped out, and I could drop out, is because I could afford to. And you then either need to come from money, or you need to do it in a smaller pool. But I think it's really, really good for everyone to have an insight of how management and agencies work, to know if you want to be in the industry, to hear about how people talk about actors, because you're not protected from that.
And I'm somebody that's behind the camera, and the way that like I got into everything, first of all, after I graduated from college, I came to LA several times working on student films. Like I would just email them and be like, hey, do you have anybody to connect me with? No one did that at the time. Probably still no one does. And they were like, yeah, here. Then they put me on lists and stuff. So I worked on student films, saved up money, then came here. It still wasn't enough money. And, you know, I will check my privilege. Like my parents gave me money and I went to school at UCLA and UCLA's program. But also while I was doing that, I was doing a lot of internships. And again, at that time, internships were free labor. Like you didn't get paid for internships. Now it's against the law. But at the time, I wasn't getting paid for that. But again, checking my privilege, the other kids in my program that didn't do the internships didn't last here. They left because they didn't have the connections. I got enough connections that then got me an assistant job, a receptionist job, then assistant job. And, you know, it just like rolled over. But like, and I was also like working TaskRabbit at the time too. But again, I still had assistance from my parents. So if you don't have the money, then, you know, there are people that come here and work their asses off and, you know, take the classes and stuff, but it's very hard. It's very hard. The connections are the biggest thing.
And truthfully, like, I love my friends who've done that. It's not been worth it for them mental health wise. Like, it's hard. Like, it's so fucking hard. And I think that, like, if you just want to go to college and use college, like, you do student films at your school, like make connections that way, get internships through your school and those connections through there. Like you don't have to you don't have to graduate. Like you can literally use college to work for you. And I think like that is something I wish I would have. I mean, it didn't work out at the school for me for various reasons, but I think that like that is something that I wish I would have done more. It's like use that, like do the student films, like do the internship, like keep your grades up for what you need to if you can't go to a conservatory. But if you can go to a conservatory, then like, yeah, just do the things that you care about and the things that you really like, because it is a huge financial drain, suck, and risk to bet on yourself. And initiative does not, almost everything is out of your control. Like that's just like the sad truth of it. Like there isn't a way for you to like becoming an extra. There's all these like fucking romantic stories of like, oh, how to become an actor. Like you do all these commercial auditions, you become an extra. Like that's not, like extras don't get
extras
promoted.
Are their own thing. Yeah.
It's completely different industries, completely different casting. Like everything's totally separate. Like you might be a featured extra where they ask you to like do something, but all you're going to learn from extra work is how sets work. I think it's valuable. I don't think you should not do extra work, but I don't think it's not a stepping stone. It's just like, it's just kind of like reading a book on like how a set works. It's kind of like shadowing or a field trip. Like that's kind of just all it is. And commercials, if you want to work in commercials, like you have to work your ass off equally as you do for like, it's called theatricals. It's commercial and theatrical. You then are just doing that and none of those connections will cross over. And like, it's just two separate industries. And so I think that there's a lot of like romanticizing how actors happen and how they come to be on like, and I was given that exact same advice. Like, this is how you do it. You work this many extra hours and then you become like a featured extra and you'd be really nice to the people who have walkie-talkies and then you'll get a line. And then after that, the project will flip union and then you will get SAG and then it's just not how it works.
As background actors, if you're going into audition for theatrical stuff, you would not put any of your background work on your resume because that's just they're not the same industry. That's like if I had any experience like going to work like for Apple and putting like podcasting on, I guess that actually does have some crossover. It would
be like I use Apple, like I've like been into an Apple store before.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay.
What
like,
does it have to do with this? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I've known other people, like I knew this guy that he wanted to work in like the lighting department. And so he became a background actor and then would study what the lighting department was doing. And then then he didn't have to like go to school or something, but he learned it and then would like chat up one person that he saw like a PA that was working in the lighting department and chat that person up. And that's how he worked up. But as an actor, background actor, you do not talk to the featured actors. Like,
well, yeah, you don't.
You're not even in the same area. Like, you're kept in a different area.
Yeah, it'll either like make your day or it'll like ruin your week.
Yep.
It's just, and I don't think that YouTube is like a wrong stepping stone to take, but like it's a side stepping stone. Like it's a parallel industry that there can be crossover just because you're in the public eye, but it's not really like a door. There aren't really doors into the acting industry. Like there are closed windows that you try to kind of get through. And then one time that someone gets through one window, that window's boarded up and that no one can get through that one again. Like it's just, and again, the reason why it's romanticized and there are these stories of how this happens in Hollywood and getting discovered is because the vast majority of these people come from a fuck ton of money and connected families. And that's not as romantic of an idea or an notion to talk about. But I think that if you think about it, didn't you shadow like a dentist and realize like, I don't want to fucking do this?
Yeah, I worked at a dental office and I enjoyed it as like that. But then when I got to college and then worked and then was taking classes, I was like, I absolutely do not like this.
Yeah. So I think that like if you can get on like doing any extra work, going to like literally look up like local casting calls for like non-union extras, all of like, I did that when I was in like growing up in San Francisco. I did that like in LA when I first moved. Like, I've done all of that stuff. Like you can do that and then try your best to get on a set so you can just like look and see like, do you like that? Like if you've never acted on camera before, it's so different than like live acting in theater. And if you really liked theater before, then like pursue that. Like there are so many different ventures, and there's a lot of people in Hollywood and entertainment who like thought they wanted to do one thing but wanted to do something else. And so the best way and most affordable way to do this is to actually figure out what avenue you're interested in before you spend thousands of dollars on like a dream that is it's such a dream and such I think I'll like this, because it's so different than you think it will be. You might love it so much more, or you might be like, oh, this isn't how I thought, and I actually realized that I like the fantasy more, and maybe I want to write. Like I want to immerse myself in a story, and you're not immersed when you're on set. Like it's just like you're not. It's not like it's very much a job.
That's exactly why I came out a few times. I think I worked on like 3 or 4 student films before I made the move here. So, and that's exactly why I did it, because I was like, I'm going to be immersed. And they were at AFI. So like that's a really good film school. And so I would work as a PA, as a production assistant, and just like do my work, but like watch. And then because they were students, it wasn't like on a professional film set where like you don't talk to people. Like I would, afterwards go hang out with people, like ask questions, see what they were interested in. And then also a lot of things that I thought were things that I wasn't into, they're like, or things that I had no clue what it was, or I had this notion of what like a director did. I was like, when I got on set, it was completely different than what I actually thought. So it's interesting. Anything in life, you can't know that you want to do it unless you've actually done it in some form.
Yeah. And I think that that's sometimes when we end up committing to things for far longer than we would have is because we feel like sunk cost fallacy. And like, this advice doesn't even span to just this, but like whatever you're going to do and the choices you're going to make, career, things that you want to pursue for your life, trial run, like drive the car before you take it off the lot, like everything, like know what you're getting yourself into before you feel like you're too far gone that you're committing something that you don't really like. Yeah, it's just a risk. And I can't stress enough how much I would not recommend it to people who have other things that they would like to do. This city will break you. And that's why, like, I remind people when you see like actors doing like speeches or doing weird things. And I'm like, yeah, we're theater kids grown up who have like literally been broken apart by this industry. And then like, and you expect, of course, everybody's not okay. Like, of course they're not okay. So
good luck. Break a leg, I should say.
Yeah, break a leg. Should we take a break?
Yeah.
from our break, and we're getting to the rest of the calls.
Hi, Meghan and Melissa. I love you both so much, but I'm going to jump right in because it can be kind of a long story. I am 21 years old, she, her, and I am the youngest of 3 siblings. My brother, he, him, is 26 and he has a son. And my sister, she, her, is 30 and she has 3 children of her own. Over a year ago, my sister took off with a random man that she met on Tinder and left her 3 kids and husband behind. Since then, I have become like mom for them. I take them to school and pick them up. I make their lunches. My niece has curly hair, so I do her curly girl routine. And I also help my brother-in-law pay for daycare and preschool tuition, which, if you don't know, is very expensive. And I also pay for the school clothes and school supplies. This might sound kind of bad, but I'm definitely the realist in my family, and my sister has always kind of been a bad person, honestly, and so her leaving sucked, but I didn't really put it past her. I am from the Midwest, and so this isn't super out of pocket for her here, unfortunately, but her new boyfriend is very racist and homophobic and just all around a very gross person, and the absolute opposite of everything I am about. My partner and boyfriend, he, him, is Mexican, and we've been together going on 5 years, and so I will not allow him to be subjected to that kind of contact. And so it's been difficult. My family has always been very close, and so my mom and brother kind of tend to talk to her and pretend that things are normal, and to be honest, their lives haven't changed much since she left. I'm the full-time college student juggling a full-time job and co-parenting 2 kids, not them. I am trying to put up boundaries, and I have a lot because my sister talks a lot of shit about me, and I don't understand how she does because I'm the one raising her kids, so I don't really know how that really works out. But I do find that because of how forgiving my mom and brother are, I feel like I'm constantly known or like seen as like the bad guy, even though I know like how I feel and what I'm doing is like right for me. I know that, but I still can't help feel that way. And I also find myself like wasting a lot of time thinking about how upset she makes me. I want to add I am in therapy, so like I am getting help. I've been in therapy a long time, but I promise there's more to the story, like a lot more. You could ask my therapist. But yes, I'm just about out of time. So thank you guys. Literally any sort of advice you could give me. I don't know what you could, but thank you so much. I love you guys.
I just want to say that if anyone's watching and was confused by my face when she was like, I'm from the Midwest, this happens a lot. That was the precursor to he's like homophobic and racist. I thought that was so people tend to like leave their families for people they meet on Tinder a lot. And I literally was like, hi, I've never heard that about the Midwest.
I thought the same thing. I was like, okay. If
yeah, I was like,
that's
sure.
what's happening. Okay.
I don't know what's happening over there, but I was going to have to take your word for it.
In Northwest Arkansas, where I am from, it touches the Midwest. It is the South, but it does touch the Midwest. And I personally know 2 women that left their families.
It's an epidemic.
Yeah. So that was it. It was like when she said this happens, I was like, okay.
You're like, I mean, based on add this to the other ones, and yeah. So far, check
I feel like me knowing 2 whole people that did this, that seems like a lot. So Midwest, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Midwest, nice. No, Midwest, leave your husband and kids for someone you met on Tinder. This is a lot. Okay. I mean, obviously, my initial follow-up question is like, I initially thought that the sister was just gone, like hopped off a plane, like LAX, dreaming cardigan, bye kids, never coming back. But it seems like she's a part of your like she's still like your mom and your brother still talk to her. Like it sounds like, I don't know if she's just like a verbal, like a long distance part of your life, or like is she like close by and in your orbit because of proximity, or just because of like is your mom and your brother talking to her? Because like if she's like nearby, I would have so many questions. Like why? I mean, this isn't necessarily like the advice like you really want to hear. But I mean, I think if you have set boundaries with your mom and your brother about like, I hold a lot of anger towards her for what she's done. And like, I love these kids, and co-parenting is hard, but it is something that I'm like committed to doing because I really love and care about these kids. And so that is what I'm doing. But like, I am not okay with maintaining a relationship with both of you while you are actively maintaining a relationship with her. And like, I hope that she gets the help she needs and like things can change and get better. But I think it's wildly like disrespectful to like everything that she's put us through and her kids through for like you to kind of have this like forgiveness attitude towards her. And if you're going to do that currently, like I, for my own mental health, need to step away from these relationships, because like you can't make people feel a way about a situation that you feel. And sometimes people's feelings are wrong. Like sometimes people are wrong in these situations, and she's getting through all of this unscathed. And like, that is something that I think is like wrong. Like, I don't think that that is correct. And I don't think that's right. And we all have our own boundaries. And it seems to me like your brother and your mom have put up their boundaries as like financial. So their boundaries is they're not going to help their niece and grandchildren, their niece and nephews and grandchildren financially, and that they are going to have boundaries with them versus boundaries with your sister. And I think that that's the like wrong choice. I don't think that you choosing to co-parent them is not having boundaries. Like we all pick and choose where our boundaries are and like what's our priority and like what's important to us, and like your boundaries with your sister. And therefore the people that you need to surround yourself with need to have that same boundary. And I think that yes, we need people to like respect our boundaries, but you can't make someone respect your boundaries. You can only tell them what your boundaries are. And then it's your job and your responsibility to then follow through with those boundaries. Like you're the only one who can honor your own boundaries. So if someone breaks that boundary, passes that, then I don't want to say you can't fault them, because you can fault them and you can blame them, but then you're the one who's enforcing them. And that's by walking away. Like that's really what boundaries are. They're not about other people. They're about us and our choices. And it seems like from like your full-time student, full-time working, co-parenting, financially supporting, it doesn't seem like you are financially supported by your family. And I think that it's natural for us to want to make familial relationships work, especially when there's like...
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Turmoil in other parts of the family, but like sometimes shit happens all at once. Like sometimes things all blow up at once, and sometimes people don't step up when you need to step up, and you don't have to accept less than you deserve and like you don't have to like concede on your boundaries because you cut out another family member of your life and you have to hold on to these other family members. I think that it doesn't have to be forever, but I think you're probably going to stay in this really mad, active emotion towards your sister phase if you are with people who you know are on good terms with her, because it feels like they're condoning her actions that you've internalized her actions. Do you know what I mean? Like you're stepping up and like taking her spot, and you're seeing how hard it is, and you know that you are not a replacement to their mom, and so you know that it's hard for them, and you're internalizing all of this. And then when you also have people in your life who know that you're going through all of this and are still have a good relationship with her, that feels like, fuck you. Do you not see everything that not only that she did, but what she's put me through and what she's put these kids through? Like, it just doesn't feel like your value systems are aligning. But I guess unless the kids still have a relationship with like their mom, I just think that like, if you cut out the people who have a relationship with your sister, her boyfriend is kind of obsolete to me in that way, that like, unless again, like you're in the same circle and the same area. And in that case, maybe that's just having a conversation with the kid's dad and being like, we're going to need to schedule this more. I'm not going to be around my sister. I'm not going to see my sister because I can't guarantee that I'm going to be cordial or kind. And I don't want the kids to see that. So like, I'm financially going to help and support. And then we need to coordinate. If she's going to be around, I'm not going to be here. And like, you and I need to make a schedule for that. I was shipping you and her husband for a bit until you said you had a boyfriend. I was like, are you going to get married to spite her?
That'd be awful. But you said a lot of things that I was thinking. I think mainly I just want to say that I'm so thankful, and I'm sure the children are too, and the husband, that you're in their lives. And I don't know if this is something that he wants to do, but like child support does exist. If he wanted to put her on child support, then he could. But then that might open up custody things. But it doesn't seem like she wants to be around anyway. So put up boundaries with your brother and your mom, and with the husband, and just keep being the great aunt that you are.
Yeah, it's hard. Last thing I would say is you brought up saying that you feel like the bad guy. You're not the bad guy at all. And I think that anyone who makes you feel like the bad guy is not somebody who should be in your life and whose input is wrong and also unwarranted and not helpful. And just know, like, no one who makes you feel that way in this situation should be a part of your life. And I think that adults try and do a lot of things for like the sake of kids and try and like protect kids and all of that. And like, I will just say that kids are smarter than anybody gives them credit for. And the most important thing for a kid is to be surrounded by people who love them. And right next to that is surrounded by people who love each other. Friends who love each other, siblings who love each other, families who love each other, a person who loves themselves to an extent, like someone who like, if there is more than one person around the kid, the relationship of those two people is like vastly important. And I am just not here for people sacrificing. I think co-parenting is really hard. I'm not saying that's what's going on here, but if it is, like, if not you and your brother-in-law, but if the kids are being like, if your mom's watching them sometimes, like your brother, and like maybe their kid's mom is back in the picture at any, like, we value co-parenting as a society and it's talked about. And like, I think it can be done really, really, really well, but it is better to be done not at all if it's not done well. It's just not. And like the same thing with relationships. So it is better if your nieces and nephews, if you cannot stand your brother and you cannot stand your mom, and you cannot stand your sister, it is better for one of you to remove yourself from that event or that situation than stomach it and like power through for the kids in that moment, because they will know. And it's better to have people who are happy and loving them around them at that time than have everybody all at once if it's not a good or healthy environment. And that can change day to day. Like, and that's how you protect kids. Like, you don't protect kids by giving them this idea of a nuclear family, and you don't have to stay with like and tolerate deadbeat people or like toxic people and all of that because they have a relation to those kids. Like, it doesn't mean that that relationship will be positively impacting their life. So yeah. And I hope you like have like a bathtub and like you can take bubble baths, or like you have like a meditating app, or like something that you're also doing some self-care for yourself besides therapy. Like, I love therapy. I think therapy is self-work. I don't think it's self-care. And I think that it can be caring to do that for yourself. But I think if you need to like treat yourself in other ways too, because you're doing a lot for everyone, and you need to also like do something for yourself that's not necessarily for the betterment of you for 5 years later, or the betterment of like you know, digging deep into trauma and all of that. Like, that's all important. But so is like watching reality TV and ordering your favorite dinner. Like, those things that are like good for your soul too.
It's been me all week.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like after I would have like hard fucking therapy sessions or whatever, like I'd be like, I'm taking the day off of work and I'm doing these other things because like that, what I just did there didn't feel like self-care. Like that didn't feel like that felt like hard fucking work. And like, if you ran a marathon, you would then like tend to your wounds and like recover afterwards. And we are so overbooked and we're so fucking busy and just like constantly like on this like hamster wheel that we think of working out and we think of therapy as like self-care when both of those things are like strenuous activities that are good for us long term in most cases, but are not self-care. And we just don't have the time to do both. So,
right.
But sending you so much love. I would love, my nosy ass would love a callback to like hear more about the situation, and maybe we could give you some more pertinent information if we knew more about how like the current parenting situation with the mom was. But these kids are like really, really lucky to have you. And so is their dad.
And honestly, so is your sister.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time for Don't Blame Them.
Yes, we did less calls this episode if you can't tell because we talked a lot. So just letting you know. Time for Don't Blame Them. This is where a listener will call in with their own advice pertaining to a call we had on a previous episode. So maybe they have personal experience with it, or they have some additional insight, or maybe they've been in close proximity to a similar situation and they want to give their own advice.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa, longtime listener. Love you guys. So I am a licensed clinical psychologist, been in the field for quite some time. I have supervisees, meaning I clinically supervise people in school getting their hours in various placements. So I'm commenting on that caller who has a very unethical supervisor. We don't call them mentors. A mentor is a whole other thing. In the realm of psychology, they're called clinical supervisors. And that's what this man is, or is supposed to be. So as a supervisor, you are meeting with your supervisee usually 1 hour a week. That is what is required per every 10 clients that supervisee has on their caseload. So it might be more if their caseload is higher. So within that hour, you are solely focused on that supervisee's clinical work. The operative word there is clinical work, not their personal life. The only time a clinical supervisor should be commenting on someone's personal life or even asking them about it is if it directly relates to that particular placement or client that supervisee is talking about. An example would be, wow, I've been working with this client who really reminds me of my mother. So the clinical supervisor might say, well, say a little bit more about that, only to help the client with what we call their countertransference, so that they can understand their own reactions to that client in relation to feeling like they remind them of their mother. Hopefully that makes sense. So yes, this person, this man who's asking her to call every day and all that nonsense, way, way, way over the limit. What I would do, or what I would suggest that she do, is tell her school. So they have to have some kind of placement where they help the students. They place them in these different clinical agencies. That's my suggestion. Don't see them anymore. Hope this helps. Okay, bye.
So this is from season 9, episode 21. The title of the episode was Sparks When Dating.
This makes total sense to me.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for calling in, because this was very insightful. Obviously, this is something that we don't have experience with. We both thought it was like overstepping and doing way too much. And now that we have like a professional letting us know what this actually is, it already gave me the ick, but this is even more. Ugh.
Yeah, everything you said, because yeah, we had the inclination, but thank you for giving us the fact that like this is like a specific title and like the schools are involved and like there's standards. Like there is something that is like expected and like kind of an outline of how things are supposed to go and what's asked of people. And that we thought even without all of that, it was overstepping. But now knowing that there is kind of like a way that this is supposed to go, that is, I hope that the caller, original caller, feels like confident knowing like how to report this and what to look out for in future. And I would assume that like this kind of stuff, like even when there is outlines of how things are supposed to go, or they're more facilitated or more hands-on by like other parties, like people take advantage of that stuff all the time. And like they prey on people who are, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like ignorant or not knowledgeable about the situation because they haven't had experience yet. And it's kind of like when you date someone who's a lot older than you and they set the stage for what relationships are supposed to be like. Your first job or like internship, all of that stuff, like people can abuse that power because they know that you don't know any better. So I'm really thank you for giving us this insight. And I hope that anyone we know a lot of people who listen to the show are going into like psychology and different facets and iterations of that. And so I hope that you can like share that information with like friends. And if you are in school, maybe talking to your teachers about how they talk about these clinical supervisors and like maybe asking your teachers to add it to the rubric when talking about it or how these things are supposed to go. Because I think from an outsider, it seems like maybe this was a totally isolated incident, but it seems like this could be an ample place for people to take advantage of. And even if it's just like doing their work for them and like asking too much of them, like not emotionally or not like inappropriate out of work, but also just like asking too much of them workload wise and like it's not what it's supposed to be. So communication. So hopefully that this doesn't happen to people because this is like a really confusing thing and leaves a bad taste in your mouth about like the profession you're going into.
Yeah.
I also loved your energy.
Came in, you're like, is she mad at us?
Yeah, you're like, I'm a psychologist. I was like, oh, do you hate me? It's like, no, it's like, no. It's not at us.
Long time listener. I always love when someone that works in the mental health field listens to the show.
It's that, and then when hairdressers recommend our show to their clients. Those are primo. And when people like get their partners to listen to the show. I love that too.
Yeah.
But we're a soundtrack to a road trip. We love to hear it. That's it for this episode. We hope you all enjoyed. If you want to leave a review on the podcast app, we would absolutely love that. If you want to sign up for our Patreon and support the show, please do. We have live streams there twice a month. They're very fun. That's our $5 tier. And then for $1 a month, you can watch the video versions of the podcast. So you can see our facial reactions. And I'm personally a podcast like watcher. I listen to podcasts, but like if a podcast is a video option, I love to opt in for that, especially when I'm like cleaning my room and it feels like that meme of being like, haha, me just hanging out and talking with my friends. Like that's really how I feel with it. Yeah, Melissa's going to read a review.
I am. And this is from Angie, smiley face. And it says, applicable to real life. I feel seen by this podcast. Melissa and Meghan, she spelled your name wrong, but she spelled
yours
mine
right? Okay. 50 we're okay. We take what we can get here.
Say the things we are thinking, from patriarchal power dynamics to how to deal with your boyfriend's mom. Eminem have you covered, and we'll be spilling tea on how those seemingly disparate topics may very well be connected. It's a 6 out of 5, to be honest. They'll take you along to all the cringy, deep places, but it's always fun. A wild ride from beginning to end.
That's like a movie review. Like, I love that. Thank you. So if that inspired you to leave a review, please do it. If you've left one before, you can leave one again. Like no one is stopping you. Yeah.
Even if you voted before, you can go do another star. Every time I open the app, I click another 5-star on it. So
as you should. And if you are listening this long to the podcast, comment
your favorite nepotism baby.
Yes, that's a great one. Comment your favorite nepotism baby. And is it Maude Apatow? Because I feel like most people's will be. Or Margaret Qualley. Who else? Who else is a good nepotism baby?
There's so many.
They all are.
Yeah, it's like everyone is in some way.
Wait, I just found out one of my favorite artists is a nepotism baby, and I had no idea.
Who?
Gracie Abrams. Her dad is J.J. Abrams. As soon as I saw her on the list, I just saw Abrams, and I go, no way. Her dad is J.J.? And I scrolled out, her dad is J.J. Oh, Billie Lourd is a good one.
Well, yeah, she comes from a long line.
And I like that line. Well, because I like, I love that family of, here I'm having to scroll by everyone who has beat me out on roles. So.
But doesn't that make you feel better knowing that, you know, they had an insider thing and it wasn't you?
It does. It always does.
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus is one.
Well, yeah.
I know one that I like.
Okay. I was like, of course.
Obviously. Her godmother's Dolly Parton. Like, yeah.
Right.
But no, that's my favorite. So is yours Rashida Jones?
I think the Jones family. Just the Jones family as a whole.
I think my last one is Chet Hanks. I couldn't even commit to the bit. Whew. Wow, I'm learning so much. Oh, Drew Barrymore. I love her too. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts and Diamond Imprint Productions. Edited by Coco Lawrence. Post-production sound by Chris Henry. Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson. Music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Do you love Disney? Do you love top 10 lists? Then you are going to love our hit podcast, Disney Countdown. I'm Megan, the Magical Millennial.
And I'm the Dapper Danielle.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. The parks, the movies, the music, the food, the lore. There is nothing we don't cover on our show.
We are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed.
I had Danielle and Megan record some answers to seemingly meaningless questions. I asked Danielle, what insect song is typically higher pitched in hotter temperatures and lower pitched in cooler temperatures?
You got this.
No, I didn't.
Don't believe that. About a wish coming true? Well, I didn't either. Of course, I'm just a
cicada. I'm crying. I'm so sorry,
You win that one.
So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.